Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, guys. How are you guys on today? Guess what time it is? It is story time with Miss Doris. I have an awesome story for you on this beautiful Thursday evening. But before we get started with our story, I'd like to greet everyone all over the world. I would like to say hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and to some good night. Someone is going to bed somewhere in the world, but guess what? You are just in time for story time with Miss Doris. Shout outs to all of you out there in Storytime land. To all of our new followers, hello and welcome. I'm so excited to be reading to you your first live story on today. I hope you guys had an awesome day today at school. Today's story we're going to be reading is Thumbelina. And this is a little classic paperback book in which we are going to be reading on today. So guys, well, go ahead on, have a seat, enjoy the live story as Miss Storytime reads you a story. And I'd like to give a shout out to those of you that are celebrating a birthday on today. Happy birthday to you. I hope you had a blast for your birthday on today. Well, I know you guys may be having dinner, or some of you are already in bed getting ready for that bedtime story. You're just in time. So go ahead on and have a seat or enjoy your snack while Miss Doris reads you a bedtime or an evening story on today. Thumbelina, and this is a little classic paperback book in which we are reading on today. Once upon a time, there was a kind woman. Turn the music down just a tad bit. Once upon a time, there was a kind woman who wished for a tiny daughter, but she had no idea where to find one. She decided to visit a fairy and ask for help. "Here is a magical grain of barley," said the fairy. "It is no ordinary seed. Plant this in a flower pot and see what happens." The woman thanked the fairy and went home and planted the seed. Before long, the seed grew into a large, beautiful flower, but its petals remained tightly closed. "What a lovely flower," the woman explained, and she kissed the bud. With the kiss, the bud popped open, revealing a tiny girl. She was almost the smallest and loveliest girl that the woman had ever seen. She was barely as big as a thumb, and so she named her Thumbelina. There she goes, really tiny. The woman loved Thumbelina very much and treated her like a daughter. Thumbelina slept in a walnut shell bed, with a mattress made of violet petals and rose petal as a blanket. Hello and welcome to Life Story Time with Miss Doris. Today's story we're reading is Thumbelina. One night, a big slimy toad crept in through the window and onto the table where Thumbelina slept. "Well, she'll make the perfect wife for my son," croaked the toad. With that, she grabbed Thumbelina and the walnut shell bed and hopped out the window and down the garden path. The old toad brought Thumbelina to the muddy riverbank where she lived with her son. He was just as ugly as his mother and could only croak at the tiny, sleepy girl. "Stop croaking," said the mother toad, "or you wake her. Let's put her on a big lily pad in the middle of the river while we tidy up." When Thumbelina woke the next morning, she found herself surrounded by water. She had no way to reach the shore. Thumbelina sat down on the lily pad and cried. Before long, the toad swam out to the lily pad. "Soon you shall meet my son," said the toad. "He is going to be your handsome husband. You'll live with us on the riverbank. Excuse me. Story time, story time. Poor Thumbelina didn't want to marry a toad. She cried and cried and cried, and the fish in the river poked their heads up to see what was wrong. The fish agreed that sweet Thumbelina should not marry a horrible toad, and so they shooed through the stem of the lily pad. Once it was freed, the lily pad floated downstream, taking Thumbelina far, far away from the toads. As Thumbelina sat down the river, the birds in the bushes chirped, chirped excitedly. What a pretty girl, they twittered. Just then, a large beetle flew by and snatched her off the lily pad. The beetle carried Thumbelina to a tree and placed her on a soft, soft leaf. He fetched some honey for her to eat and told her how pretty she was, even if she didn't look at all like a beetle. After a while, the other beetles came to visit. All the lady beetles giggled at Thumbelina. She only had 2 legs and no antenna. They thought she looked quite silly. Since the lady beetles kept calling Thumbelina ugly, the beetle who had snatched her soon agreed. He brought Thumbelina down from the tree and left her on a daisy. Poor Thumbelina wept because the beetles had teased her so much, but she was really just as lovely as ever. After summer long, Thumbelina lived in the woods with the only singing birds to keep her company. She wove the bed from blades of grass and placed it under a large leaf to protect her from the rain. She ate nectar from the flowers and drank dew from the leaves. When winter came, the plants withered away and the birds flew off to warmer places. Poor Thumbelina was terribly cold and alone, so she set out to find some shelter at the edge of the woods. Thumbelina saw a small door. She knocked on it and was greeted by a field mouse. "Oh, you poor girl," exclaimed the mouse. "You must be frozen. Come inside, where it is cozy and warm." The kind field mouse, quite like Thumbelina, had invited the tiny girl to live with her. Thumbelina helped the mouse cook and clean and told her stories of her adventure. "My neighbor is coming to visit," said the mouse one day. "His house is even nicer than mine, and he has all the food he could ever need. He would take care of you." That evening the neighbor came over. Thumbelina was surprised to see that he was a mole. He talked quite a lot, but nothing nice to say about the sun or flowers, as he had never seen before. In fact, he hoped it would be a long winter as quiet like the cold. After dinner, the mouse asked Thumbelina to sing, and the mole fell in love with her as soon as he heard her lovely voice. The mole invited Thumbelina and the field mouse to visit his house and led them through a new tunnel that he had just finished digging. There goes Thumbelina about to sing. As they walked, they saw a beautiful swallow lying dead on the ground in the mole's tunnel. Thank goodness I was not born a bird, said the mole. Nothing could be worse. All they do is chirp all summer long, and when winter comes they become so cold that they drop out of the sky. Thumbelina felt sad as she looked at the bird. Maybe he is one of the birds who sang to me all summer long, she thought. What joy he brought me. That night, Thumbelina couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the bird, the cold, and alone. She got out of bed, gathered some leaves, and carried them quietly down the tunnel. When she reached the swallow, she stroked his feathers, and then she gently placed the leaves around him. Farewell, my beautiful bird, said Thumbelina. Thank you for your summer songs. Thumbelina laid her head on the bird's chest, but was quite startled when she heard a thumping noise. It turned out to be the swallow's heart. He was still alive, only numb with cold. Now that he was warm enough, he was returning to life. The next night Thumbelina returned to the bird. He was awake now, but still weak. Thank you for helping me, said the swallow. I feel so nice and warm again. Soon I'll be strong enough to fly back into the warm sunshine. It's still cold outside, Thumbelina replied. Just stay here and I'll take good care of you. The swallow told Thumbelina that he had torn his wing on a thorn and couldn't keep up with the other birds when they flew off to a warmer spot. That was all he could remember and didn't know how he had ended up in the tunnel. The swallow stayed on the ground all went along. Thumbelina took good care of him and was happy that the mole and the field mouse ignored the bird. When spring arrived, Thumbelina helped the swallow outside as he flapped his wings, and Swallow asked Thumbelina to join him on his journey. I'm flying away to a warmer country where the sun always shines, said the swallow. Will you come with me? Thumbelina agreed and called goodbye to the field mouse. She climbed onto the swallow's back, and he rose into the air. They flew over the forests and the lakes and the mountains. At last they reached a warm countryside where the fields were full of lush flowers and butterflies fluttered from blossom to blossom. The swallow brought Thumbelina to a tall tree where he had his nest. Beneath the tree was a cluster of lovely white flowers. The swallow gently placed Thumbelina on the petals of the largest blossom. There, in the middle of the flower, was a tiny man, just the size as Thumbelina. He had a gold crown on his head and delicate wings at his shoulders. In every flower was a tiny man or a woman just like him, and he was the king of them all. The king was the most handsome man Thumbelina had ever seen. Likewise, the king thought Thumbelina was the loveliest young lady in the world, and he placed his crown on her head. He asked Thumbelina to be his wife, the queen of all flowers. He was certainly a different sort of husband than a toad or a mole. He was just like Thumbelina, and so Thumbelina said yes to the handsome king. lords and ladies from the other flowers came to meet Thumbelina. Each brought a present for the new queen, but the best was a pair of beautiful wings. They would fasten to Thumbelina's shoulders so she could fly from flower to flower. The swallows sang a happy song, and they all lived happily ever after. The end. That was an awesome, awesome story we read on today, on this evening. Thumbelina, Thumbelina. I enjoyed reading you guys an awesome story on this evening. And to those of you that's going to be catching this live story on the replay, hello and welcome to Storytime. Make sure you share Storytime videos with your family and friends. And if you haven't subscribed to our Storytime YouTube channel, please don't forget to go and subscribe or like our Storytime with Miss Doris YouTube channel. We're trying to build our followers up on our YouTube. Don't forget to check out Instagram and Storytime's Snapchat. So I enjoyed reading you guys a story. Remember, if you're not feeling well, always let someone know that you're not feeling well, and they will take really good care of you. And when you're out and about or playing with your favorite toy, make sure you are washing and sanitizing your hands at all times. Remember, we are still practicing safety first. And when you're out in public, make sure you are wearing your mask. Don't take your mask off, guys, unless someone tells you to. I enjoyed reading your live story on this evening. Take care. Have an awesome, blessed evening, and we shall see you on tomorrow. Remember, if you're not smiling on this evening, I hope when she sees me, Storytime smile, that you are smiling. Take care. Have an awesome night. Sleep tight.